Hey, everyone.
I'm Becca.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome back to Becca's Book Club Adventure. As always, we're here to escape reality, but also unpack more of the fantastical chaos of Crescent City.
Exactly. And holy moly, do we have some fantastical chaos to unpack this time. Oh, shit. But before we do, we have to pay homage to this episode's sponsor, Easter weekend. Yes, that's right. This one is sponsored by the Lord. Easter weekend. For when you want to celebrate rebirth, forgiveness, and life with the same people who've emotionally traumatized you since you were born. Goes great with seasonal guilt, uncomfortable small talk, suspicious potato salad, long-standing family obligations, and pretending your entire personality hinges on a once-a-year trip to church. Side effects may include disproportionate rage at competitive egg hunts, the uncontrollable urge to fake a phone call and leave, optic nerve strain from intense eye rolling due to political grace before dinner, and the sudden need to Google boundaries. Use as directed by the blessed union of Jesus Christ and the Easter Bunny's emotionally unstable progeny.
Well, family get-togethers.
I mean, getting together with your family was good.
Yes, it was very nice and very fun. Also very exhausting. We have 3 of the greatest dogs. 3 dogs is still a lot of dogs.
They've all chilled out. It's not like a couple years back when it was chaos.
Yep. Crunch is just chilling on the lawn, sunbathing, having a great day. Duxie was like, there's a bunny over there. There's a rabbit over there. I'm just going to sit right here. It's going to be okay. And Delilah was like, what's going on?
I don't know if that girl will ever get over her like separation anxiety trauma.
No. But it was adorable to watch her watch herself in the reflection of the door.
It was like the first time she ever saw herself. It was very cute.
Right? And then she was so tired that today, when she was laying on her dog bed, I got to see her belly for the first time willingly.
Oh, she was really tired then.
She's really tired.
For everybody listening, Delilah, Becca doesn't know and probably hasn't told us the full backstory, but it seems like Delilah was kept outside for like her entire life, like in a very traumatic way with another pack of dogs or whatever. And like, she will not sit down. She will not lay down. She's even scared to eat. Like, she'll eat a little bit and run away, and then she'll sneak back and eat some more and run away. So like, there's some trauma there. And even though she's not in that situation anymore, she still won't sit, won't lay down. So she must have been tired to lay down.
Yep. So we're 12 weeks in to the adoption, and we're starting to see a little bit of lay down behavior that looks natural and sit down behavior that looks natural. So she's progressing. We're getting there.
Yeah, just all time heals all wounds.
Wow, that's such a lovely saying. I don't know that that's entirely true.
And I guess that actually kind of segues into what we just read.
Yes, absolutely.
And I guess before we talk about that, and before we recap what we've read, I have to ask the ever-present question. What's the vibe check?
Considering the fact that you and I decided we have to finish this book ASAP, and I texted you yesterday, can I keep going? The vibe check's good, and I'm emotionally wrecked, and I need to finish this.
I do too. I do too. I have nothing else to say. I do too. This week we read chapters 53 through 67 of House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. We wanted to read more, but we didn't because there was a reading schedule and Matt had some OCD and needed to stick to the reading schedule. It was a really juicy chunk of reading. So let's recap it.
All right, so last time we left off with Adius, the demoned prince, telling Bryce to rerun the test on Danika from the night of her murder to look for what's in between to make the drop, and then to find him again so they can finish what they started.
So our reading covers the second half of part 3, and in there, Bryce and Hunt deepen their investigation into the mystery of Luna's horn and Danika's death by following the Demon Prince's advice, uncovering shocking connections to the illegal drug synth.
A key revelation shows that Danika had traces of synth in her system, or at least on her clothing, raising disturbing questions about her involvement with the substance and what her intentions were.
Yeah, along the way, Bryce and Hunt's relationship reaches new heights, both emotionally and physically.
During weeks of slow burn tension, they reach a place of emotional bonds we didn't think possible as they bond over each other during Hunt's trauma as an assassin, Bryce's leg wound, Kristallos' demon venom extraction, and Hunt's defense of Bryce's honor against Emily.
Sure, yeah. And somewhere in the middle of all of this intensity, we get an adorable breath of fresh air that is nothing like anything else in this entire book. Hunt video chats with Bryce and her parents. It's charming, surprisingly wholesome, and maybe the moment we all realized Hunt is already Bryce's boyfriend, even if no one has said it out loud yet.
Speaking of which, they finally have the talk and admit their feelings for one another after weeks of smoldering glances and emotional longing. And then they finally do something about it. In particular, one steamy moment, Hunt brings Bryce to a breathless climax on her couch. Bryce felt the heat and we felt the heat, and it seems like a miracle our books didn't burst into flames.
It was definitely the payoff we've been waiting for, and I bet Bryce was waiting for it too, you know? But just as things finally begin to feel safe and stable between them as like a couple, the emotional ground gets ripped out from underneath them.
Sabine, being Sabine, manipulates events and complains to Micah, eventually leading to Hunt being punished severely with what's called the living death.
In short, Micah brutally chops off, off, Hunt's wings.
The scene also reveals a heartbreaking truth. Bryce made a deal with the Underking to ensure Danika's soul passed into the Bone Quarter, sacrificing her own place in the afterlife in the process. Remember when we asked what the hell did Bryce do in the Bone Quarter? Well, now we know.
For real. Totally not what I was expecting. And I don't think it was what you were expecting. But anyway, the climax of these chapters unfolds rapidly. Bryce uncovers evidence of synth trials and stumbles into a full-blown drug deal, only to find Hunt, Justinian, Victoria participating in a drug deal to obtain the synth and fuel a new rebellion, allegedly.
In a devastating twist, the Viper Queen has set them up. Micah arrests them all, claiming that Danika was nothing but a druggie addicted to synth, and that her overdose caused the massacre of her own pack as well as herself.
Bryce, like us, is left stunned and hurt, wondering what's true, what's a lie, and who can be trusted. Her heart is broken and she spirals downward. But Fury is there to take her home because somewhere in the background of all of this, Fury re-entered the chat for the first time in 2 years and just happens to be at this drug deal gone wrong.
Fucking Fury. We end on a dark and brutal note. Victoria and Justinian receive horrific execution sentences, and Hunt's fate hangs in the balance. The emotional stakes have never been higher, and the carefully built trust between characters has begun to fracture under the weight of betrayal and half-truths. I was so upset.
I had a plan. I didn't read the book first, and nobody on the internet seems to give good reading chunk breakdowns for Crescent City. I can't find them anywhere.
Well, I think it's obviously worth the podcast content. However, emotionally, I had to start another book last night because I was like, I can't not.
So when I finished this section, I was emotionally burnt. I read an entire Kathy Reichs book in 2 days. And I am 78% of the way through The Coven by Harper L. Woods now, which I started after the Kathy Reichs book.
Oh,
It's rough, but like the dude, the book just keeps getting better. Like this is all rise.
I also loved how on Instagram you'd posted a poll about what are our thoughts and feelings on Hunt, and I was like, I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. Right now, I hate him.
I mean, yeah, it was rough. But you know, maybe let's start talking there. Let's just get to the big salami right off the bat.
Finally, it feels like Bryce and Hunt were on the same page, and everything just explodes, right? The arrest, the setup, the gut punching of seeing Hunt on the wrong side of the investigation leaves us and Bryce reeling. And I mean, literally, we flip from one page of them finally getting it on to 2 pages, and our world has flipped, and Hunt is now the worst being in the book.
You think last week you mentioned that because we were talking about like, are they going to get together? Who's going to make the first move? And you made the comment that if like nobody makes the first move and nothing comes of this romance, Hunt is going to unravel. Okay, given what's happened now, you still think Hunt is going to unravel?
No, I don't know. Part of me is like, he's a slimy being. And the other part of me is like, maybe he was caught up on the wrong side of the story. But a whole week. He left the synth information from Bryce for a whole week. That's a long time when you are living with someone to withhold information.
Do you think he actually did what he said he did?
In regards to the trying to shut it all down at the last minute?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so this dude, either Sarah J. Maas is the biggest bitch of a writer ever, stealing this from us, or he is who she told us he is. And this is some type of like smoke and mirrors. And my heart doesn't know what to believe.
Because we've only gotten small snippets of a very likable Hunt. Otherwise, Hunt is described as kind of being a rough and tumble kind of character who's on the wrong side of the law. He's a slave for all of the rebellion that he's done. He has a really long sentence to pay off. We have no reason to believe this character, other than there's been cute moments of like the little Jubilee unicorn horse and this video call with the parents.
I mean, okay, I guess you're right. There are all of those moments where Hunt gets a text message and Bryce doesn't know who it's from, and he's just like, I've got Legion business, I gotta go. Right? And Naomi or whomever is watching Bryce instead. And on top of that, we do get like the heartfelt moment between Hunt and Bryce where Bryce essentially finally hears his entire backstory from him and says, if you could do it all again, would you? And Hunt was like, yeah. I mean, he says it a lot more than that, but essentially it's yeah. So I guess is getting the synth him trying to do it all over again, but like not in the past, moving forward.
Well, and when Bryson's seeing the medwitch, and the medwitch asks, if your tattoo was removed, what would you do? Would you go hunt down the people who harmed you? And he doesn't answer the question, and they're all under the assumption that yes, he would go hunt them down.
Silence speaks louder. Yeah. What do you think of the synth?
It doesn't make any sense to me. So we, in theory, have this drug that gives you such an insane high that a human has super fae strength and can kill all of these fae, and then it makes you go so insane that you kill yourself, which honestly does track for a lot of street drugs that are out there.
This is why I'm asking you, the pharmacist.
I don't know why I think this is impossible, but in my brain I'm like, this can't be the sole answer to this.
I mean, so the way that I read synth is they describe it as synthetic magic that when taken in small doses is a healing agent, and when taken in big doses is a drug. but at the core, it's a synthetic magic, which I think is a fascinating construct. And I'm almost likening it in my mind. This is totally not from the book. Nobody come at me. But like I'm likening it as if like meth and steroids had a baby for humans.
There are street drugs, right? Like cocaine has medical use, right? It's used as to help as a strong vasoconstrictor for certain types of surgeries. So, like, I understand the concept that we can have a drug that can be medicinal on one end and destructive on the other.
Yeah, I suppose I don't quite understand the you take too much of it and you just destroy yourself. Although if you're on meth, like I correct me if I'm wrong, but like you pick your pores. You're like looking in the mirror and you're like picking your pores apart. You're ripping your face. But I mean, that's like a much lesser concept of this. But so I guess there's something like that. I guess it's weird because the trials they were doing were all on humans, and the humans would do it. It makes a lot of sense to me that if you are already an extremely powerful magic being, you already have all this magic, and you shove a needle into yourself and give yourself essentially magical steroids, there's so much magic that you don't know what to do with it and you end up ripping yourself to shreds. I guess I can somehow picture that, but it becomes problematic for me when a non-magical entity takes it with the same result.
Mm-hmm.
Although we don't, I mean, they told us that it happened that way to Danika, but there's nothing, there's no evidence, there's no tests, there's no anything to make you believe that that is actually the outcome for a non-human person who
Right,
takes
because
this.
the only fact we really get, the known fact, is we have the trials of these humans locked in a room who are forced to take synth, and then they send in Fae, and the human kills the Fae, and this is repeated 10 times over, and eventually the human takes their own life.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have trial information on a shifter like Danika, right? And it kind of gives this interesting picture because, you know, Danika is painted as this all-powerful shifter, but her mom doesn't view her this way. So maybe synth was being used a lot longer to get this all-powerful being persona, and Sabine really knows that her daughter has not that much power.
Maybe, but then that begs the question that like Danika was essentially using performance enhancing drugs since before Bryce met her.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems
Sabine,
unlikely.
right, and Sabine blames Bryce entirely for Danika's drug-taking behavior, but
Mm-hmm.
the picture we get from Bryce is that's not necessarily the case.
So then why in the world would Danika, if Danika's a drug addict, and from everything that we learned with Bryce's conversations with Fury, Danika doesn't want Bryce to ever touch the stuff. She's protecting Bryce from it, blah, 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 blah. That would mean that if Danika was taking it, there's a level of shame. So why then does Danika leave a trail of breadcrumbs that lead Bryce to the synth, the thing that she never wanted Bryce to mess with in the first place?
Right? But I also think maybe Danika thought that the ending wouldn't be the same for her because she's a magical being, right? So maybe she thought that she wouldn't have the self-destructive behavior on the other hand like a human does. And she was worried Bryce would be self-destructive because of her half-human.
Okay, so point blank, do you believe, Micah, that this is how Danika and the pack met their end?
Not yet.
Okay, me neither. I don't believe him, period. I don't even believe that Hunt is like a bad person right now. And the reason I don't believe he's a bad person is because Micah's keeping him alive. That makes me throw shade at Micah. And I don't know what the F Micah has done, but like, if Hunt was the bad guy and Micah is this great person that he's being painted to be, why did he kill 2 of the 3 instead of 3 of the 3?
It's a good question.
I will say I do like that that the Viper Queen is vindicated. Because like when she was the one dealing, I was like, oh, that slimy bitch. But then she's pulling a fast one. I'm like, oh no, she doesn't deal with this stuff. She was just trying to get it off of the streets.
Mm-hmm.
So like at least one character was sort of quasi telling the truth about her character.
Right. And it's definitely the snake. The snake is the
definitely the
one who's
snake.
like, I'm correct.
Like, isn't that just great? Like, getting out of the story for a second, that's just great writing.
Mm-hmm.
There's irony on irony, you know? So
it
I want
sounds
to keep
like you
talking.
might still think that Bryce and Hunt can come back from this. Because I'm team fuck Hunt.
I think I'm also team fuck Hunt, but in a completely different sense of the word.
The physicality of it, not the emotional.
Quite frankly, I don't know how they come back from this. I don't know how Bryce can ever trust.
Bryce needs to go to therapy if they do come back from this. She seriously needs therapy now.
The reason I still believe in them as a couple is not because I believe in them as people or characters as a couple. It's because there are 2 more books after this that are just as big, if not bigger than this one. And Hunt is not a 1-book character, in my opinion.
I'll give you that. But when the Demon Prince was introduced, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is our actual mate. Pretty sure this is our love story.
I want you to be true. I want you to be right. I think that would be a fantastic twist.
Yep.
I mean, like, let's talk about why Bryce can never trust ever. You know, I think the arrest and the heartbreak and everything is just as bad as it is because of that moment. Bryce's come hither orgasm on her couch, the emotional lead up, the physical release. We were wondering last episode who was going to make the first move, and who made the first move?
I'm gonna go with Bryce because Bryce said, I'm gonna kiss you. And then she only half-heartedly leans in, and then Hunt pulls her in, but she vocalizes it first.
She vocalizes it first. It, like, I read this and I was like, hell yeah. It was awesome. But then because of how this section ends, this scene is just so bitter now.
Yeah. So for the listeners, one of the lead-ins to this is he has his living death prior to this event. So he has his wings cut off and he's hanging out at Bryce's apartment recovering. Bryce has to go to work, so she sends her brother Rune, and he's giving him, his magical tonics to help him recover, all this stuff. Every 6 hours, Bryce finally gets back. They're hanging out on the couch. This man has vertical lines down his back of scabs, and they're sitting on the couch, and they get it on. And afterwards, there's now blood in vertical lines all over her couch. And all I could think the whole time was, that's gonna hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm. And also, this is Bryce. You know that her entire apartment is like millennial beige. Like all of the neutrals, all of the clean. So
Yeah.
that couch be ruined. I mean, I'm sure they have magic that can fix this, but just talking about some of the lead up to this moment. I mean, the moment was great, and I think Sarah J. Maas actually writes really good sex scenes.
Yeah, you can follow what's going on.
Yeah, and they're erotic without being like, that's a little much. But like, I think it's like they have the talk, and there's a lot of stuff that happens along the way that essentially make it like they're mates. Like if you want to talk about it from a Throne of Glass or Akatar standpoint, actually one thing that she says to him, and I'll actually read straight from the book because this brought a little bit of a tear to my eye. This is page, well, at least in my edition, 556. Hunt asks, "And who am I?" And Bryce says, "A pain in my ass." Her smile was brighter than the setting sun on the river. He laughed, But she added, "You're my friend who watches trashy TV with me and puts up with my shit. You're the person I don't need to explain myself to, not when it matters. You see everything I am and you don't run away from it." I think that like Quint essentially sums up the person that all of us want to find.
Yeah.
And they seem to mirror each other so perfectly, know what each other are thinking so perfectly. It really makes me think of Feyre and Reese, and it really makes me think of um, Aelin and Rowan. But Hunt and Bryce don't seem to have this like telepathic thing.
Brain connection.
And so I wanted to ask you, do you read it? Like, and I'm trying to step back from the whole arrest thing that makes us all want to like get our torches and pitchforks. But like, do you read it sort of that way? Are they like mates destined for each other? Or are you just like, screw this dude, we're team frozen demon prince person?
So when I read what Bryce had said in that response, I think the reason it brings such an emotional response to me, she's not describing a romantic relationship. She's describing a really strong friendship, right? Someone that you go to bat with, someone that has followed you through thick and thin, someone that's there when the boyfriend leaves or the husband bails or you get kicked to the curb, right? So that's a whole different type of person that you get to have in your life. And so I didn't necessarily read that as a romantic.
Okay. That's interesting because I read that and I was like, that's exactly how I feel about my wife.
I think they go hand in hand a lot. I think the best marriages are made from strong friendships, but I think not everyone goes for that as they should.
Okay, so let's go back to the previous question of do we think they can come back from the whole drug deal thing as friends?
I think so, because he's not murdered. So he has a chance to actually explain the story to Bryce and maybe come back from it. But I think what hurts the most is he knew when she left the apartment and left to go clean things up and didn't just stop her when she was leaving the apartment to tell her.
Yeah, he had a lot of opportunities to say things. But like thinking back when he just kept trying to nudge her away from looking into the synth. And it all seemed like normal at the time because they had been reprimanded by Micah so many times that it was like, we need to take some time. We need to think through this. And apparently, the entire time, Hunt was like, just give me some more time so I can clean this situation up on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, you're like, oh, he's looking out for her. He's a nice fella.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they like get physical and then he betrays her. That's essentially the plot line here. And I think that mirrors real life real hard. Um I don't think I've ever been that guy, but I've known a lot of guys like that. And like it is a systemic problem and I cannot imagine what it must be like to be um the person that is making themselves that vulnerable to give up the most intimate part of themselves, because from a male perspective, like as the initiator, you're not doing that. But like if you're the other side of a homosexual relationship or you're the female or something, like that must take a lot, and like the betrayal must hurt that much harder.
I think some of the issues with that, though, is the societal's portrayal of female sexuality, right? Like there is no need for that to be a big ask or a big give up. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about Bryce's character is that she does have fun. She goes out, she meets people, she has one night stands. But then also there's still this recognition that physical intimacy can still be emotionally tied.
Yeah, like what? Like I don't. Mm-hmm. How do I phrase this? I'm always very trying to be careful as a boy phrasing things like this. I think you're right. America does make it all about the vagina. I have to give up my vagina. But what I guess I was trying to say is it's much more of a you have to get to this place of trust. And the trust has to be so firm to give access.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the betrayal is not necessarily like, I let you touch my flower. It's like, I trusted you, damn it.
Right?
And I guess speaking of trust, I've been struggling with a question in my mind as to, is Bryce more hurt at the end of this because of the betrayal of trust uh, with Hunt, or because she no longer knows if she can trust Danika? Because like even in death, Danika is still the center of this mystery. And the more we learn, the less we understand. Because like between Synth, the Horn, the Too Smart Medwitch, like it's clear there's a much deeper game being played here. And did Danika do this, or is she being made to be a scapegoat? And does that lack of trust hurt Bryce more than her lack of trust with Hunt now?
I would have to say Danika.
Yeah.
I think it's much easier to forget and forgive someone that you can speak with, right? So she still has the opportunity to talk to Hunt. But from what we currently know, she doesn't have the opportunity to talk to Danika, unless there's some other magic coin where she gets to pull Danika from death and get to talk to her. But I think it's hard when she has this very different perspective of Danika than what she's learning through this trial and then what other people are saying. Although the pack still seems, even though Sabine thinks her daughter is shit, the pack still seems to think pretty highly of Danika.
Yeah. I mean, even Emily and Connor, who were the two characters that seemed to actually be gunning for Bryce, seem to like regret their actions and behavior now, and they seem to be a little bit more on Team Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the the drug bust, since we're talking about Danika now. I know we kind of talked about, did Danika do it? Is Danika a druggie, and did she kill the pack? But maybe a different way to phrase that question is Micah telling the truth?
We have no reason to believe Micah. I also super struggling with the way that this part 3 ended. It was all wrapped up nice and neat, right? So Sarah J. Maas could have stopped the book right here. And if that was the case, then I think I could accept it and believe it. But because we have another 200 pages of this book, I am struggling to believe that Danika shredded it. But the picture was perfect, right? Bryce is all like, oh, well, the only voice we heard on the recording was Danika's. So, like, it's all making sense. It's very convenient.
It is very convenient. I agree with you. I don't trust Micah, and because of that, I don't trust that this neat, tied up with a bow story is the end all be all.
And if this was the answer, why would they ever have gotten Bryce involved in the investigation?
Yeah, I mean, especially because they had, like, Micah at the very least had access to all of those synth trial recordings from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He could have put the pieces together in his own mind, lickety split. Also, why? So Micah made a deal with Hunt. I'm going to take away all of the kills you owe me if you can figure this out. But it seems to me that Micah already figured it out. Or at the very least, if Hunt did figure it out and told Micah, which that seems ridiculous, why would Hunt? Because then Hunt doesn't. Why would Hunt go do the synth? Why would he buy all this? It doesn't make any sense. Like, so, like, I guess, yeah, buy the synth to fuel your rebellion. Sure. But why would you do that after you've already informed your boss, who you're betraying, about all the facts?
And he's relatively close to being free. So, like, if he had finished the investigation, done his other 8 to 10 kills or whatever, he could have then used whatever synth he stored to actually do a whole rebellion, well-funded, well-fueled.
And I guess it's really fortuitous that Fury came back in, since now Danika has been called into question. So now we can have some narrator to like what, reaffirm Bryce's original trust or something. But Fury's pretty sketch.
Storyline. Yeah. I'm not liking that she showed up in the nick of time. What up, bitch?
I don't, yeah. Fuck her.
And then if she was doing an investigation on the side of all of this shit, why didn't she loop Bryce in and get Bryce out of this investigation sooner? If they're such good friends.
I'm starting to think, here's my, I think it was last time we talked, I was telling you that I have all these deep suspicions that Micah is like not a good guy. I'm starting to wonder if the way Micah has kept his like good person facade is because Fury is working for him, and Fury's carrying out all the heinous shit. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about with Danika. All right.
Do you want to talk about the croissant? The croissant shindig? I just think it's so petty.
I think it's like a really great prank as like a writing ploy. But like, how much of a shitty person do you have to be to like tick off the days on your calendar for an entire year to get to Danika's birthday, go to the one shop in the entire big ass city and do this? And then also, how in the world, like, because Emily didn't do it herself, she paid somebody to do it, which means this croissant shop is the people that actually did it.
They carried it out.
That's horrible.
Also, the word was trash. Like, kind of not that big of an offensive term. Like, Bryce is like, whatever. Story of life. But Hunt's response to it is extreme.
Like, I get it. They're kicking Bryce when she's down.
Yeah.
And that's like the trigger. But I do think like pinning Emily to the wall with her throat and encasing her in your wings and setting the entire room with lightning so nobody can touch you is a mite bit of overkill.
Yeah.
Because
low-level bullying.
Like, he could have easily still flown there.
Yep.
Thrown the croissants on the table and verbally confronted them.
Yep. Could have been, you're an asshole, stay the fuck away, and been done with it.
And then when somebody makes a move at him, then he can fling up his lightning and be like, I was justified in my defense.
Exactly. And then Sabine takes it over the top, basically calling for Hunt's death because of how he treats Emily. And that's how we end up with the living death. Which is interesting if Micah, at this point, because presumably the next 12 hours is where everything falls apart. So if Micah had an inkling that Hunt was being this jackass of a human, why not just execute him then?
And only assume it's his like good person facade that he has to maintain. Only thing I can assume.
Still didn't execute him later, so there's some ulterior motive going on.
Yeah, there's something. There's something with Micah. And I mean, Sabine has to be the most petty, but at the same time, most dangerous person I think I've ever read in an SJM book.
She's incredibly manipulative.
Do you think in the next 200 pages, either Sabine or Micah are going to get what's coming to them?
I think that's book 2 or 3.
Book 2 or 3. Okay. With that in mind, I guess, like, what do you think is going to happen in the next 200 pages to close this story out? Do you have any theories?
I think Bryce will make the drop. I think she will join her demon prince and return to Crescent City to create chaos.
I think what you just said is going to happen in book 2. And I think that because book 2 is House of Sky and Breath. I think that Bryce is going to unleash her Starborn power in the next 200 pages, and she's going to save the day. I don't know what that really entails, but something tells me it's going to be vindicating Hunt, taking down whatever plot got Hunt in trouble, and using her Starborn power to do that. And Starborn power is what? It's all light, essentially. So that would mean that she would need to be a part of the House of Sky and Breath. I understand that Earth and Blood is the Autumn King's house, but is she going to say to the Autumn King? I don't know. It's all like, so it makes sense to me that maybe she goes through the drop in the beginning of the next book and then joins that next house. I don't know.
That's a good point, because I don't know who would, at this point, help her with the drop. So
yeah,
that's probably another book.
Do you think we're going to see this Demon Prince again this book?
I think it's a cat on the last page. We'll see him again.
Ooh, that's good. Do you think they find Luna's horn? Or do you think that's going to be a hunt for the horn that is ongoing?
I'm hesitant to say yes, they'll find the horn. I think part of me says they'll find a part of the horn. And then the mystery will deepen.
Okay, so it's not only a puzzle, but it's a literal puzzle.
We also haven't checked the fucking closet yet.
I know. Oh my God. I swear that Bryce is going to open the closet and then like 700 pages of text are all going to fall together and make sense.
Yep.
And I
She's
don't know if
open the closet before the end of the book.
Yes. I don't know if that's going to frustrate me or give me one of those throw my hands up and go, yeah, moments.
Both emotions will come out in that.
Probably. And I'm really excited for it. And I think the number one thing I'm really scared of is I'm going to finish this book in the next like 2 days, and then we're going to wait 6 days to record a podcast episode. So me thinks that maybe if we finish it early, we just need to get on a call and record and just be done.
Sounds good.
I mean, okay. The only other thing that we didn't talk about, and I don't know if we want to talk about it, is the whole deal that Bryce made with the Underking.
We need to learn more. I need a little more before I can unwrap that.
Yeah, I think that's like a Chekhov's gun type of thing. Why would that be how the book starts? We don't know anything about it until 600-ish pages in. It's got to mean something.
And it shows the story that maybe Bryce did have a little doubt in Danika if she felt the need to sacrifice herself.
Well, prediction, that gets explained in the next 200 pages.
I'm praying.
All right. Well, on that note, I think that's probably going to do it for us today.
As always, you can let us know what you think. Leave us a review or email us at bookclubbyBecca@gmail.com, or find us on Instagram, Becca's Book Club Adventure. All one word, all lowercase. We might feature you in our next episode.
Speaking of which, next time on Becca's Book Club Adventure, we'll be finishing House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas by reading chapter 68 through the end, which we have now mentioned 25 times. Unless, of course, we drop a bonus episode before we get there.
So until next time, we hope you enjoyed Easter weekend. Go recover by reading some books. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.